Good morning. Welcome for today's module. In building construction, we have been learning about high-rise buildings, their construction methods, the various components involved in their construction. So let us try and see more about the foundation systems and the systems that are required before doing the foundations. Okay, we need to study the soil before studying the pattern of foundation that we want to apply. Okay, so if we see basically in building construction, the soil conditions play an important role in its stability. Okay, so every building, it will consist of basically two components we all know. First is the superstructure and second is the substructure. The superstructure is a component which is above the ground level and substructure is the component that is below the ground. So total load of the structure is being transferred to the ground through the substructure. So since a huge load is being transferred to the ground, the soil that is going to bear this load should be capable of sustaining to this load. Okay, it should be able to bear this load. So the capacity of the soil to sustain this load is known as soil bearing capacity. Okay, today we are going to use this term a lot because we are studying about the same. Okay, so soil bearing capacity, or also known as SBC. So the soil bearing capacity of the soil, it should always be greater or at least equal to the load that is being transferred to the substructure, right? So if the soil bearing capacity is less, then there will be settlement in the structure. This settlement will be uneven, and due to which the cracks may appear, even the building may fail. Okay, so at times the building may collapse as well. So the soil bearing capacity, it plays very important role in the stability of the building. So the foundation, as we know, it plays a very important role to transfer the loads. So since the foundation is below the ground level, the damages that are going to occur over that period of time, they cannot be seen. So the foundation, it should be very strong and it should prevent the settlement. Okay, so it should be designed taking into consideration the soil bearing capacity. So it may the unequal settlements may be also caused by weak subsoil, or the shrinkable or expansive kind of soil, or there could be some movement underground because of groundwater. Then there could be excessive vibrations in the activity or in the vicinity of the structure, which would cause damage to the main structure. So there could be also slow consolidation of the saturated clays, etc. Okay, so therefore it is very important to know the soil conditions before designing the structure. So for this purpose, we need to first investigate the soil. Okay, we need to check that if the soil has the bearing capacity that is required for a certain kind of foundation that we are planning to provide. So we are further going to see about how the soil investigation is done or explorations are done. Then we will also see if we can improve the soil bearing capacity. If some soil is having a lesser SBC, how can we increase that? There are ways to do that. We will also look into the excavation in the ground with subsoil water. So these are all the things we are focusing today. So we will our motto for today's learning would be what different type of soils have different characteristics, because of which the specific soil bearing capacity is, or load bearing capacity is achieved. So for a better and stronger foundation, what could be the things that could be done? Okay, so let us now one by one see the basic requirements or types here. So soil exploration, let us see why is it done, or for what purposes is it done. So to select the type and depth of the foundation, we must first do the soil explorations. Then to determine the bearing capacity of the selected foundation. Then also to predict the settlement that could happen for the selected foundation. Also to determine the groundwater level and to evaluate the evaluation of the earth pressure that is going to happen against the walls of the basements, etc. In also in case of providing constructional difficulties, if we want to overcome them, that time also the soil exploration has to be done. The suitability of soil and the degree of compaction of soil, for the same we need to do the soil explorations. Now, there are various methods to do the soil explorations. First, and also as we know, soil exploration is done to find out the soil bearing capacity, right? So, by which means we can do it? So, there are various methods like open excavation, we have boring method, we have subsurface sounding. So, in these methods, let us see in detail. So if we see the open excavation or the trial pit method. Now in this method, if we have to find the soil bearing capacity, we will be doing, we need to get the soil first, right? And till the harder strata, we need to know where how much is the capacity of this soil which is going to be there around our foundation. So this is the open excavation or the trial pit method is a common method of soil investigation. So the arterial pit is first dug. Okay, the simple pit is first dug. The sample of the soils are taken at various levels and they are tested for their soil bearing capacity. So these trial pits are around 2 to 3 meters deep. So the soil taken from this method is in its natural condition, right? So the structural design is done according to the soil bearing capacity that is studied for this kind of excavation. Then further we have boring. So boring, as we all know, you must have heard, somebody has done boring for his plot or her plot to get the groundwater. So this boring kind of method is also used for calculating the or finding out the soil bearing capacity. Let's see in detail about these systems. So in the auger boring method, augers are used in cohesive and also soft kind of soil. Okay, so or the soft soil that is above the water table. So they may either be operated manually or mechanically. Then there are helical augers and there are post hole augers. So there are like helical or spiral augers. So these two types are used to find out the soil bearing capacity. Now how they can be mechanically operated or they can be manually operated. So hand augers, they are used up to the depth of 6 meters and mechanically operated augers are used for greater depths. So they can also be used in the soil. Then augers, these two both the types, this boring is fairly satisfactory for explorations of shallow depths where there is a shallow foundation required, and for exploratory borrow pits. So next type, if we see
auger and shell boring. Now auger and shell boring, in this if you see the components in this diagram, the outer cover, that is the tube kind of thing you see, is called as shell, and inside there is a piston. So the piston and its holder, it together is used to remove the soil for calculating the soil bearing capacity. So that is why this method is known as auger and shell boring. So this method is usually used when the depth is more than 25 meters up to almost 40 to 50 meters as well. The further type of the boring methods is wash boring. Okay, so in this diagram you see there is this deep tube with it which has a pipe inside it, right? So in this one, this method we know is it is used for majorly finding out or taking out the groundwater. So in this one, they have we put this pipe inside the tube that you see here, that is the shell, and inside the shell the water is sent by a pressure. So this water pressure, it allows the soil from the ground to come out from the next pipe that is shown near the bucket. So with the water there might be some gravels or soft rock etc also can come out. So this method usually it is very helpful for quite a deep areas where you have water at quite such some depth. That time this one is used. Then this soil is then given out again for carrying out the soil bearing capacity, so that the decisions for the foundations can be made by the structural designer. Then the percussion boring. in this one it is pretty similar to the wash boring, only the internal the drilling bit is added, which is pretty heavier, and this gives much more functional characteristics to the boring unit. Further, the rotary boring, it is also again a similar kind of method. In this one, the speed is much more faster than the previous ones, which allows a better, results. So in this one also similarly there is this tube. Then inside the using the pressure, the water or the mud or even rocks or soil is taken out to carry the soil bearing capacity. The subsurface sounding. So now in this one, the sounding method, it consists of measuring the resistance of the soil with the depth by means of the barometer under static or dynamic loading. Now barometer is a kind of instrument which shows the calculations of how much the sound the soil is going to make because of the vibration. The sound and its striking back from the surface is counted. Okay, because the resistance to penetration is specially correlated with the some of the engineering properties of the soil, like density index, the consistency of the soil, etc. So these tests are useful for general exploration of a soil which doesn't have a fixed kind of characteristics, which has a lot of varying kind of characteristics. So even for finding out the depth of the bedrock or the strata, and to have approximate induction of the strength and other properties of the soil, especially how cohesive is the soil. So in this one, two commonly used tests are standard penetration test and cone penetration test. The geophysical method. So this the first one is seismic refraction method. In seismic refraction method, there is a seismograph that is used. So in this method, there are point explosions that are caused. So deliberately caused. So these point explosions, they give certain kind of a effect onto the ground. So the reverberations from the same are then calculated into the seismograph. Okay, so they give the capacity of the soil. So they are pretty similar to shock waves. Okay, they are created into the soil at their ground level at a certain depth below it by exploding small charge into the soil, or by even striking a plate onto the soil with a hammer. So the radiating shock waves that are picked up by the vibration detectors, so where the time of travel of the shock waves gets recorded. So this would tell us the depth of the strata. Okay, is it hard, is it reached to the hard strata or no. So some of these waves are also known as direct or primary waves. They directly travel from the shock point along the ground surface and are picked first by the geophone. So now this seismic refraction method, it is very fast, and it is one of the most reliable one in the for establishing the profiles of different strata. So they also they have increasingly greater capacities to calculate, and finer calculations are done using these. So another one in the geophysical method is electrical resistivity method. So now, like we have in the previous one, the seismic reverberations were carried out. In this one, there are electrical resistivity is calculated. Okay, this method is also known as resistivity method. So in this one, the electrical resistivity method, it is based on the measurements and the recordings of changes in the mean resistivity of the various elements. So in each soil will have a different resistivity depending on the water content, the compaction and the composition of the soil. Like it is low for saturated silt kind of soil, and it is high for loose or dry gravel, we call murum, etc. So for such soil it will be lower. So in this one, you can see in the diagram, there are these electrodes, positive and negative. So using them, these calculations are done. So this one is also known as pretty accurate in its terms. So let us now further look up. So these were all the types for carrying out the soil bearing capacity. So further, let us see, we know now what is the bearing capacity of a soil, but in some times if we come to know that the soil bearing capacity is low, so there has to be some solutions also to increase the soil bearing capacity, which will allow us the kind of foundation that we wish to do. Okay, so sometimes the bearing pressure of the soil is very low, that the dimensions of the footings work out to be very large and they are pretty uneconomical. In such cases, it becomes very essential to improve the safe bearing pressure, which can be done by the different methods. So now let us see all these different methods. So first one is we can increase the depth of the foundation. Okay, so it has been found that in granular kind of soil, the bearing capacity will increase with the depth due to the confining weight of the overlying material. So whatever material we are putting from into the footing, that will allow the soil to increase, or it will give more and more bearing capacity in according to the depth that we are going. So that is why increasing the depth will help. So but this need not be economical, right? We are increasing the depth, so cost of construction is increasing. So also the load of foundation is also increasing in the depth, right? So this method is useful only when better bearing stratum of is encountered or found at greater depth. Okay. The second method to improve the soil bearing capacity could be compaction of a soil. Okay, so if the soil has less capacity, we need to make it compact so that it can take the load that is going to be appearing on it. So it is found that here in the diagram, if you see, there is this rubble compaction that is done. So in the rubble compaction method, a layer of 30 to 45 centimeter thick well-grade rubbles are spread into the pit. Okay, or at the level of the foundation. So there, and then it is rammed properly. So if this layer of rubble it gets buried in the soil, another layer of again 15 centimeter thick rubbles is spread and well rammed again manually. So this will result into increasing the bearing capacity or value of the soil. So there is also the done ramming of the moist soil is also done, another method. So in that one, the foundation soil is first moistened, okay, by adding water, and then it is compacted with the help of hand rammers, or mechanically also it can be operated by vibratory rollers. So the voids in the soil are then reduced because of this, then results into the reduction in the settlement that would otherwise carry. So the third method is known as flooding the soil. So the bearing pressure of very loose sands, it can be increased by flooding the soil with water. In this method, the water is flooded over the soil, so it becomes a very effective method to improve the safe bearing pressure of the sands, which cannot otherwise be effectively compacted. So in such kind of sands, the sending water and letting them bulge out helps a lot. So, this can improve the bearing power of the soils, especially in the desert and all those areas, by making this method at many locations where it is required to support the heavy loads. So, the water, it goes into the pores or the areas where the soil is loose, and it takes that area because of the bulging of the soil, it becomes a compact layer. So further we have vibration method. So into this method, heavy vibratory rollers and compactors they are used. So they compact the layer of granular soils to a depth of around 1 to 3 meters. So if this method of if the method of flooding, then vibration is used. So sandy soil can also be very effectively compacted. It will increase into the bearing capacity again, and it will also decrease the settlements when the superstructure loads come on the soil. So after the flooding is done in the previous method, so the moisture penetration is at least 1 to 2 meters from the vibrators, or the platform vibrators can also be slided onto the sand surface with So further, when there are soils which are mostly expansive in nature. For example, let us take the example of black cotton soil. When there is water coming in contact with the black cotton soil, it bulges a lot in its volume, and that causes displacement of the soil. So sometimes in extreme cases it has been observed that such soil it will displace for almost around 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers. So this is quite a scary kind of scenario. So, while making the foundations in such kind of expansive soil, when the depth of the trench becomes large, okay, so the subsoil it starts losing onto the sides of the trench. So it might fall down into the trench. So that is why the problem to solve this problem, timbering method is used. So timbering of trenches, sometimes also known as shoring, it consists of providing timber planks or boards and also the struts to give it temporary support to the sides of the trenches. We have seen this method used while we were talking about the building repairs, right? So timbering of deep trenches can be done with the help of various methods. Further, there is box sheeting. So in this one, the timbering is done throughout the length of the trench, and this one it has more members as compared to the previous method. So all these methods are used for doing the timbering and to avoid the soil from falling inside the pit. So by doing all this trenching and all, the foundation is made, and before filling up the soil, it is removed. The trenching is removed. Further, there is a runner system, there is sheet piling system. Now, this sheet piling system is majorly used in the retaining walls. If you all remember in the when I was teaching you about deep foundations, we had shown this sheet piling method. So in this one, it is usually adopted when the soil to be excavated is very soft or loose. Okay, and also when the depth of excavation is large or the width of the trench is also large, that time this method is used. So also when the piles or the sheet pile they are driven into the ground by mechanical means, and it can be used for excavating to a very large depth.
Now let us further see the excavation in ground with subsoil water. So when the water content of the soil is extremely high, that time the excessive water is to be removed from the ground. So let us see the methods of doing this. Okay. So excavation of the foundation trenches in ground having very high water table or in waterlogged area, they pose very lot of problems or issues because of the water which is oozing out in the trench from the sides, and it brings the soil with it into the pit. Okay, so it loosens the soil. So for this, especially the timbering, if we do the timbering, it would become loose and collapse at such cases. Also, the excavation can be carried out by dewatering the subsoil water, and the foundation dewatering can be done by various methods. Okay, so there are ditches and sumps method. In this one, it is supposed to be a simplest form of dewatering. So in this one, what is done is there are shallow pits which are also known as sumps. They are dug on especially along the periphery of the area of the drainage ditches. So the water from the slopes or side, it flows under the gravity and is collected into the sump. Okay, and from which it is then pumped out into maybe different pit or outside the site area. So the sump can be weighed down with an inverted filter consisting of coarse material, or even the bottom of the sump is pit is upwards. So this is the way we can do the dewatering. Further, we have a well point system. Now in the well point system, it is a more complicated kind of a system. It is majorly based on the gravity flow. So the especially at the time of installation of the well point. So the well point is first perforated pipe of about around 0.5 to 1 meter long, and it can be 5 to 8 centimeters in its diameter. So it is covered by cylindrical wire gauge kind of screen, and the conical steel drive point is then attached to the lower end of the point. So with a neoprene valve, so this kind of wall is first fitted into the point to allow the jetting of water to pass through it while driving the water out. So this is the way it will function. Further, when we have marshy kind of land, so that time the area of water, the spread of water can be more. So at such time the point well may not work. That is why a multi-stage well or even the lowering of water table by doing a well point system is done. So now you can see in this diagram we have different well points. Okay, so from all these separate points according to their depth, the wells are situated, and from well points are situated, and from there the excessive water is taken out. And specifically in the multi-stage well point, it is not done at the same time, but we have various points according to the depth of water. So if we see at the topmost points of the well points, from there the water is first taken out. If we see further, at the deeper ends there is water, then the shift point is being shifted. Okay, the water lowered water table, according to that the well point is shifted towards the depth, and then the water is again collected. So that is how this is done. And further we have more advanced methods like vacuum method. In this one the vacuum pump is used to create vacuum in the sand fillings, which will then remove the excessive water because of the pressure that has been applied, and then the soil will become stiffer. Also there is this electro-osmosis method, in which we have this positive and negative points at the water level, and this arrangement is made in such a way that the natural direction of flow of water is reversed away, okay, from the excavation, and there how it increases the strength of the soil. So this is it for today. So as architects we all have this responsibility to give maximum out of our site to our clients. So that is why we should be aware of the site condition, especially the soil condition, the how can we improve the soil's bearing capacity and give a better kind of foundation for the structure. So that is why we all must be aware of these things, and let us now further read this in detail in our MOOC.